So, in today's episode of Dating After Toxic Relationship, I didn't really have something specific planned. I didn't really sit down and kind of figure out what I wanted to talk about. I kind of got this topic just from living in the day today. I was sitting outside for a little bit. I started to think back to my Audible book, the one that I obviously read for Audible, Signs in the Rearview Mirror, Leaving a Toxic Relationship Behind. I was thinking about that today, just a little bit ago, because I could remember the feeling that I had after I read it, after it was finished. The night that I finished in the studio recording everything, I remember feeling like the weight of the world was off my shoulders. Like I had read that book for the very first time out loud, in a sense to no one, but at the same time to everyone, because this was going to be going out for purchase for everyone to read or listen to, whatever. And it did. It made its way where it was supposed to go. A lot of people read it. A lot of people listened to it and learned a lot from it. I got a lot of feedback from that. But that night, I remember getting in my car, driving home. It was such a surreal feeling to have accomplished something. I felt as if I had just brought my book to life. I had to make voices, which was fun. I called one voice in particular my douchebag voice, and I remember sitting in the studio and kind of doing my voice, and I stopped and I looked at my producer and I was like, was that douchey enough? And he was like, no. And then I did it again and he's like, good douche. That was really good. And it was really fun because it was exciting to be able to do something like that and to bring the whole book to life. But like I was saying, it was the first time I read my book out loud, and it kind of blew my mind while I was reading it. In my head, I was like, man, this is like something that I should be proud of, that I accomplished, getting out of something so toxic, so abusive, and then going on to like writing my story and letting everyone know what it looked like and what it felt like, and trying to help others with their own stuff. And it's not easy because you are judged by a lot of people you met, people you've never met. Dating isn't super easy after releasing a book like that. Having to talk about it over and over and over again, that's not super easy either. I guess I kind of thought when you read a book, it just kind of bloop, it's done. It's on in bookstores, and you're on your way to doing other things. And that's essentially not how that goes. But it was really interesting. And then thinking about that tonight led me to think about how far I've come in life in general. And from the way I grew up in Massachusetts all the way to where I live now in Texas, it was one heck of a ride. It really was. And I'm now staring down the barrel of being an empty nester, a single empty nester with 3 kids that are going to be one in a completely different country, one in a different, and probably 2 in a different time zone. And then you start thinking, like, now what? Like, what happens now? I also started realizing that the amount of time I wasted in that toxic relationship, I could have been spending time with my kids who are now gone. And that was kind of a revelation tonight, where it was like, what did I do? Obviously you can't live back there and you can't really beat yourself up for it, but it's one of those things where it's like you don't realize your kids are going to grow. You don't realize that they're going to go. You don't realize that they're going to get on with their lives, and their lives don't stop because you kind of made some massively bad decisions. So it's a tough thing to live with. It's a tough thing to know that I put someone who never loved me, somebody who abused me, ahead of my kids for a little bit there. And that's really hard because that affected them as much as it did with me. And realizing that is tough. So I'm working continuously to improve relationships with my kids, and I have, and it's not anything bad, but it's definitely one of those things where it's like, I wish I would have done things differently. So if you're one that has kids at home and you're chasing some guy who does not want to be caught, who's cheating, who's hitting, who's probably a sex addict and a drug addict and an alcoholic, I would suggest maybe spending more time with your kids because they're gonna go at some point, and you can always chase this guy. He's always gonna be a deadbeat. He's always gonna be around the corner somewhere lurking, doing something shady and slimy. But your kids are not going to be around like that. They're gonna go and grow and move on with their lives, and hopefully call you on your birthday. So that was kind of a tough thing, but realizing how far I've come in my recovery and to see where I am now is amazing. I have a lot of different things that I'm going through now, which is not really bad, but dating and finding out who I am while I'm like dating. That's been interesting for sure, because I used to be massively controlling and so jealous and so tough to be around. I was one of those women who would question everything. Where are you going? When are you coming back? Who was there? What'd you talk about? How come I can't go? I can't believe you're doing this and you're not doing this with me. And now I'm a lot different. Where I learned a lot. I learned how to love myself. I learned how to like get control over my emotions for the most part. How to handle someone else's choices that they want to make and like where they want to go and all that stuff, and realizing that you can be with somebody and have your own life. You can be with somebody and have them have their own life and not interrupt it and not try to take control over it. So it's been interesting because I never thought I would get to this place in my life. I never thought I would be as secure as I am. I'm a human, so obviously some things bother me, absolutely. But for the most part, I'm not at all who I used to be. And it's such a good feeling. It's such a good way to live. It's much better. It's much happier for me and for everyone else around me. But I'll tell you, the hardest part about it is when you do meet someone and you have come so far and you've changed so much and you're so proud of who you are. But then they may look at you and be like, oh, yeah, no, you have X, Y, and Z to work on. And it's like, wait, what? So it's really hard to like not scream at the top of your lungs on top of a mountain. No, I've changed. Look at how much I've changed, because they didn't know who you were back then. They know who you are now. And there's always room for improvement, obviously. But it's tough because you want to be able to enjoy your success as far as like how far you've come and the kind of person that you are now. You kind of want to be like, oh, look, I'm not asking you where you're going and what you're doing. Aren't you so proud of me? He would be like, what are you talking about? Like, that would be insane if you asked me those things. So it's a tough thing to kind of, you know, to come to terms with. And I know I still have more growth to do. Everybody does. Obviously not just me. People who have no idea they need growth and need growth. So it's a tough situation, but right now it's good because I'm learning who I am. I'm seeing things in me that I don't like and working on changing them. I'm seeing who I can be, and it's so amazing for me to feel this way, to feel healthy and to feel happy and to feel like I've worked my butt off. And this is what success sort of feels like when you were so miserable for such a long time and then really working through it and trying to figure some stuff out and then doing it and then living it. Like, living it is a tough thing to do because it's easy to go back to who you were, but the longer you live with it, the better it is and the happier you feel and the more successful you become. So I've been dating one person for a while now and I feel happy with everything, you know, but you're human, so of course nothing is going to be perfect. But as far as everything is going, it feels really happy. And one thing I do know is if by chance this doesn't work out, I'm going to be okay, and then I'll be more prepared the next time. So it's always a learning process. So I don't have expectations. I don't have, things like that. Like, I'm interested to see, obviously, where things go, because I think that's an exciting part. But at the same time, if it doesn't go my way, then I'll be okay. And I'll be able to move forward, and I'll be able to learn. I've learned a lot so far, and I'll be able to continue learning about who I am, who I want to be in a relationship, who I don't want to be in a relationship. And it sounds a little daunting if you haven't started the process yet, but it's not as bad as you think it will be, especially if you find like the right guy or girl to, go through this with. somebody who's going to be patient and understanding and try to help you out through a lot of stuff. And they can't always do that because they have their own stuff that they're going through, but someone who can help you out for the most part. I mean, it feels like really nice, but it's been a process. It's definitely been like a learning process, and I'm learning a lot. I did the whole, dating thing for a little while, obviously, before I met somebody a little bit more serious. So I learned the do's and don'ts of that, which that wasn't so fun. That was a little tricky, but I got through it, and now I'm living, like I said, this life that I never imagined for myself. I never imagined I would be healthy. I never imagined I would be happy. I never imagined I would be living in a house where I could light my Yankee candles whenever I want and not get in trouble for it. I can do whatever I want. I can make my own decisions. I can watch what I want. I can do the dishes or not. I can do whatever it is I want to do because I worked really hard to get to this place, and it feels really good. So for anyone who's going through the ending of a toxic relationship, thinking about walking away, thinking about leaving, or thinking about going back, there are a lot of reasons for you to just keep moving forward and to better yourself and give yourself a different life, a life that you deserve, a life that will make you happy and satisfy you on so many different levels. So it's definitely worth the parts of it that will be uncomfortable to keep going, to keep moving forward, and then to get to where you are happy, and then dating again, and then meeting someone, and then going through your firsts with somebody healthy, first fight, first birthday, first holidays, all those first, meeting parents and meeting friends and stuff like that for the first time. And it's a whole new thing when you're healthy. I never talked about how I met the ex's parents for the first time, and it was such a jacked up situation that right then and there I remember thinking, this isn't for me. And it's a fucked up story. That's all I'm gonna say. I really haven't told anyone this story. It's not in a book, it's not in a blog, it's not anywhere else, but it's jacked up. And I remember just being like, what am I even doing with myself right now? What is even going on? And I had no idea at the time that was basically how the entire relationship was going to go. So when you're with someone healthy, it's different. They prepare you. They are there for you. They help you through whatever kind of little anxieties or fears you have. Whether you were in a toxic relationship or not, meeting someone's parents for the first time is daunting. It's intimidating because you want them to like you and you don't know if you're going to like them, and what if it's just horrible. But as a human, you think those things. Most of us do, not all of us, of course, but it's definitely interesting to do all these things for the first time in a healthy way. So I kind of feel like this is my first time with all of it, and I want to be able to do all the fun relationship stuff that I see in the movies. But of course, real life happens, where you have to go to work and you have to deal with different things, and it's not always going to be hot chocolate on cold nights and patio drinking in the summer. But there are a lot of stuff in between that makes it totally worth it. So if you're going through any of this stuff, keep going. What do they say? If you're going through hell, just keep going. Why would you want to stay in hell? So if you're going through it, just keep going. And if you need guidance or any help, definitely reach out, because I've been there for all of it, and I'm more than happy to help people kind of get through some stuff. You can check out my website, kellysmithauthor.com, and see different things that I can help people with or help you with. But anyway, so this was just kind of a random sort of